I'm Chloe, and welcome to Chatting with Chloe. I am so excited for the new episode of Chatting with Chloe. It's going to be an amazing day, and thank you, DJ Kai, for hitting those ones and twos for us. I would like to introduce our guest today, Tessa Kaneene.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Chloe. You are just like embodiment of hope and light. And I'm so excited about all you've done and your amazing journey ahead. And can't wait for our conversation.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Tessa, I'm so happy for you to be chatting with me today. Have you ever heard of the game Would You Rather?
Yes, I love this game.
Okay, yay. For everybody who has not heard of this game or the first time joining us, Would You Rather is a game with the question, would you rather? And you have two answers that you have to pick from. So our first one would be, would you rather only eat or would you rather only drink?
Definitely only eat. I love food so much. I was just having a snack before we spoke, so only eat.
I think I would only drink. The only reason I say that is because you can only go, I believe, 11 to 12 days without water. And so you're going to have to drink somehow, and you're not really going to get too much juice from your food. So I think I would only drink. I think that's what I would do. Let's see what the percentages. I couldn't think of the word. Let's see.
Dun, 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 dun.
It is. Sorry, I have to check it.
No problem.
Oh, there we go. So for the only drink, 45% said only drink, and 55% said only eat. So more people agree with you.
That was a close one, though.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Let's see. Let's go on to our next question. Sorry, I'm waiting for it to change. Okay. So, would you rather? Oh wait, if you were evil, and if you were an evil mastermind, would you rather have a layer underwater or a layer above water? I believe that's what it said.
Above water. How about you?
I think underwater. 'Cause I don't think anybody would check there. So I would choose underwater. I think that would be the one that I would choose. Yeah, that would be it. Okay. Would you rather have to eat tree bark for one meal a day, or would you rather have to pour cold milk over everything you eat?
Ooh, I would do the tree bark once a day and just hopefully wash it down and get it over with. The rest of the day, you're gonna have your regular food without having milk over it.
Yes, that would be, yeah, that would be great. And then for the evil mastermind, 62% said have their layer underwater, and 38% said have land on land. Yeah, I guess more people agree with me. And then 46% said eat tree bark for one meal a day, and 54% said have to pour cold milk over everything you eat.
Crazy.
So are you ready to get into these interview questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I am so excited to have you today, but can you tell us what you do?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I work at Harvard University at the Kennedy School of Government, where I work on social justice efforts.
That's awesome. I know you deal with policies rooted in social, environmental, and racial justice. Out of the three, which one do you think is, or you feel is more important?
You know, they're all related and intertwined, but I think social justice in my mind is all encompassing. And it really breaks down to the word social justice really breaks down to the idea and the commitment to a just society. And that involves just the fact that all individuals deserve equal opportunity and rights, regardless of race, gender, geography, class, sexuality, religion, ethnicity, nationality, etc. And so sometimes we hear words like social justice and people might think it's radical by definition, but in fact, it's not. It's really just wanting our nation to live up to its original promise that all men are created equal. like no more, no less. So, and we haven't gotten there yet. And so my hope is to do anything in my life to help us get a little, one step closer. And then with racial justice, I call it racial justice, especially in this moment, because I feel as though it is a subset of social justice. So if we have racial injustice, then we know now very clearly with evidence and experience, that our society has so much racial injustice, then we cannot have social justice. And so if we believe that any injustice is a threat to justice anywhere, then we have to really and profoundly and consistently persist and be proactive to combat racism. And as we reverse racism, I think we'll get closer to that just society. And then in terms of environmental justice, this is just right now, especially with your generation being such a force and such leaders in the moment of climate change. And I think it's just really important for us to understand that one, that just means the extension of the life of our planet, and how do we take care of it and make sure that we have a planet for many generations. And two, an understanding that the impacts of climate change have a disproportionate effect on typically communities of color or low income communities. And so environmental justice and understanding how communities that are the most burdened versus the most benefited in other communities have a seat at the table and have investment in infrastructure to make sure that we all benefit from the great changes that are happening with climate change, and none of us suffer more because of the negative impacts.
Wow. It shows that all of them are important to have. Either you need to have this to have that, and you need to have that to have this. So it shows that they're all important to have some kind of justice. So I've learned that environmental injustices is normally affected by unserved or lower income communities. What's one way to combat that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I think we can do to combat that is one, just to learn as much as we can about why the history of why these things happen. So sometimes before we leap forward, we have to look back. And so understanding that a lot of it is about the way in which our country was formed and who had power and who settled where. And so when we look at our systems and our structures and why there's some communities now that have more environmental injustice, a lot of it is where was there a lack of infrastructure or lack of investment? For example, I'm from Michigan, so the same state that has Flint and Detroit. So when we look at where the lead pipes are infecting communities, it's often where communities of color live the most. And a lot of that is because, for so long it was illegal for people of color to buy homes and rent homes in certain neighborhoods. So there's a collection and still some segregation of communities. And if there are not laws and policies and resources available in those communities to reverse some of these impacts, then it's really hard for us to move forward. So one thing that we can all do is we can get involved with organizations that are focused on environmental justice. One I love is called weact.org, that work to educate and provide resources for communities and community leaders. And then most importantly, I think is just voting for leaders that care about these issues, leaders that are going to serve entire communities, that are going to care about all the citizens that live in their spaces. They're going to look to do things better than that were done in the past, think about what systems are broken, where are there places of hope, how can they do their job to listen and make sure that hear all the stories of these communities, and then make some real policy changes and budget changes to be able to satisfy them. So of course we have an election coming up, and everyone has a role to play and ways in which to advocate for good policy, advocate for good leaders, no matter how old you are. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, your schoolmates about these things, and inspire people to vote for leaders that they believe in at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level, that will address some of the issues that are close to your heart, like environmental justice.
And wow, there are a lot of environmental activists that are people of color, but they do not get the recognition that non-people of color get. Why is environmental justice not popular in the brown and Black communities?
That's a good question. So definitely the recognition isn't there in terms of Black and brown people doing this work. I used to work actually in environmental justice and at an organization that was focused on cities like Detroit, Baltimore, that were wrestling with some of these issues. I just, for some people, I just don't think it's as jazzy or as sexy as maybe some other fields. A lot of it is the result of a lot of like pain or a lot of abandonment in these communities. So I think that in terms of a career lens, I don't think it's maybe as popular as other things, but I think it needs more attention. I think we need more people of color and not of color being advocates and allies for those who have bared the brunt of some of these policies that have been so damaging and destructive to communities and their families. So yeah, I'm always looking to lift up warriors of environmental justice, and hopefully together, as the world is trying to understand more about what these things look like and how that what the division is, how stark the division is between communities. I think hopefully we can make some change and make sure that Black and Brown people have a seat at the table, have a leadership role in this space, and are getting the recognition they deserve.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really important for all people just to have recognition. And
Mhm.
you worked in urban policies in a lot of cool places. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So I worked for the city of Rio de Janeiro and the city of San Francisco in their mayor's offices. And urban policy is really working on local policy to change the lives of those in the community. And so this can be anything. So really working on public services. You work with elected and appointed officials, community leaders, organizations, focus on issues like public housing, public transportation, public schools, public parks, public health care, to improve people's lives and livelihood. And I was mainly focused on housing policy. So I'm really inspired by the work that you've done around homelessness. I was working on public housing and affordable housing, homelessness, and some of the wraparound services. Um, like mental health and public safety to create a city that better houses and serves its people. So it's really working at the community level and at the local level to understand how we can make changes, have the things that you want to see to be different in your community. How do you work with people in power and people who are experiencing some of the impacts of the policies to be able to be part of the conversation, to be able to make change. So yeah, I was really inspired by that work. And I love politics at the local level. And I think there's a real opportunity to make change. Sometimes we talk a lot about the national election, which will have huge repercussions, but so much of this is at a smaller scale. And oftentimes it's easier to get involved and easier to see quick change when working at the local level, doing work with organizations like the one for which you're a CEO.
Wow. What was it like to work on President Obama's campaign?
Ah, inspiring, inspiring. Um, I first started volunteering for his Senate race in 2004 when he was so young and shy and skinny, and nobody thought that a Black man would be able to become senator. And he just defied expectation. He really built a strong coalition of young people like yourselves that were committed to change, that believed, that had hope, that didn't take no for an answer, and that really built community and were just savvy and sharp and just devoted to a cause and a person, a movement that he believed in and they believed in. I think he built more than election. I think he really changed the face of politics, especially for young people, the youth vote. I'm seeing people get involved in so many ways. And I think it only compares to what I'm seeing now and just seeing so many people really want to come out and get involved. So yeah, I was very inspired by him. I'm still inspired by the work that he's done. He did in both of his presidencies and loved working on those campaigns. And then even what he's done post presidency and continuing his work with the Obama Foundation to continue to inspire people in the South Side of Chicago and far beyond. So yeah, I think it's always great to have somebody to look up to, um, somebody to kind of help to gave me a space for this kind of curiosity or passion I had for social justice. And he really was somebody to allow me to see by example how that could lead into a path that could be really powerful and change so many people's lives and kind of change what people think about people of color, about young people, um, and about those and even those from East Africa, from which his father's from, and mine is too.
Wow. You also worked on Elizabeth Warren's campaign. These are all historical moments in history. What was it like to know you are a part of history?
Oh, I think Elizabeth Warren campaign was so empowering for me. I came in a little bit at the end. I came in last November, and from day one, it was just she's just one of the fiercest, warmest, most incredible people. What I loved most, what I learned most from her, is that she's an incredible listener, and she's really committed to adapting and changing. And she's honest about what she doesn't know, and she loves people to hold her accountable. And she's just such an inspiration to me in terms of like how I want to be personally and professionally, the way that she lets people in and allows herself to change and make mistakes. And it was just incredible getting to bear witness to a brilliant, brilliant woman who I know is going to continue to move mountains. So yeah, it was great to be part of that. And I hope that she inspired like so many little girls like you to just dream bigger and fight harder and just keep persisting and just keep doing everything that you can to create change and um, to serve others and be a really positive part of your community.
Yes. You also work on Michelle Obama's When We All Vote campaign. You've done some pretty astonishing things. This year, voting is extremely important, especially for the Gen Z population. The young adults that are turning 18 for this voting term have an opportunity to make a difference in the polls. Can you tell me about this campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. The When We All Vote campaign, it was started by Michelle Obama, and it's a movement to inspire and folks to vote, especially young people. So I was working to register, organize, and mobilize people to the polls to provide people with voter education. And it's a really easy way for young people, anyone of all ages, to be able to um, do this work from their couch, to call and text friends and families and strangers, to give them the information they need to know to vote safely, to vote early, to vote by mail, to tell them what they need to know about elections, both at the federal level and the local level, to really inspire change and get people excited about voting, let them know why it matters, help educate people on issues and how to get involved. So I'm excited that you're going to start doing some work with When We All Vote as well. And there are so many ways you can do. You don't have to be an expert. Anyone of any age can be part of some of the trainings and just come. They're always fun. You'll see so many of your favorite celebrities hop on the calls. A lot of times they have great music and great entertainment, and you know that you're working towards something that's going to make a really, really clear difference. So having those conversations and hearing that, registering someone to vote who's never voted before in their entire lives, or giving some of the information to really allow their voice to be heard. It's awesome. It's inspiring. And yeah, I invite you guys to join at whenweallvote.org /take action.
With your background, when you were younger, did you want to do all the things that you're doing now?
So I've always been really inspired by social justice and civil rights. Both my parents kind of inspired me in that way since I was very young. But actually, in undergrad, I actually majored in architecture. So I remember we were talking about, I even told you that I designed a dress similar to the one right behind Chloe for our ball when I was in undergrad. But so I was very interested in design, and I even went to a design school for graduate school. Um, but I wanted to understand how to use design as a lever for change. So when I was in undergrad, the first architecture studio I took was in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. And so we were commissioned to work with the city to use design as a social and economic and political device to, house people who were impacted by the hurricane. So I think my whole life has been kind of getting a little bit further away from traditional design, but now it's kind of the design of policies, plans, and projects that can hopefully impact people's lives, but now more using policy as a thread and kind of saving design for my passion projects and other stuff.
Mhm. Yes, you've accomplished so much already. What else do you want to do?
Hopefully just continue to do some of the work that I'm doing. I want to continue to work adjacent to wonderful policymakers that I think are going to change the arc of this nation. I hope to inspire, women and people of color and those who have historically been uninvited to the table, to have a seat at the table, to create longer tables, create new tables together, and just making sure that everyone has a say in the way like this, that our nation is formed, and try to combat some of like the ugliness that we've been seeing lately. I read a statistic earlier that was when our nation was formed, less than 20% of the population would have been eligible to vote. because then they had constraints that you had to be a Caucasian male who owned property and was older than 21. And then even if you're just for those that then on top of that, you would have had to have transportation or be in a region close to a voting area, had to have been literate, and even had to have been privy to the information of how one and where to vote. So some estimates say it could have been less than 8% of the population that was making decisions that have forever changed the way our nation has been established. All of our systems and structures, were really based on a really specific type of person. Of a specific race, of specific regions, of a specific gender and wealth and opportunity. And so I think my goal is just to do whatever we can to make sure that more voices can be heard, and that together we can determine like how we want our nation to unfold and continue to work on those 3 areas of social, racial, environmental justice, and have the opportunity to learn from leaders like yourselves and see, you all do great things and just continue to guide and lead us to something better than where we are and build off the greatness of this nation, but then also not be afraid to make changes where we think we can do even better, or be called to higher responsibility.
On another note, I love to travel. Where's one place you want to travel to?
So many places. It's raining today where I am, so I feel like today somewhere like Bali seems amazing. Just being on the beach, away from all the noise, and just something tropical and beautiful. How about you?
I think Paris, France, or Milan.
Mhm.
I feel like those places are just fashion centrals, and I really want to
Yes.
visit because that's, as you can see, that's something that I really love to do and what I want to do as a living. So those are the places I would want to go. And then my last question, what piece of advice would you give to young people that are interested in getting to the same field as you?
Sure. Well, one, I always tell young people my favorite quote is if you ever think you're too small to make a difference, try going to sleep with a fly in the room. So there's so many easy ways to make a difference right now. Wherever you are, if you know one person or if you have contact with one stranger, you can make a difference. You can change a heart and a mind. So if any of these ideas are interesting to you or are inspiring to you, you can start now. Start by reading and learning, talking to your friends, talking to your family. Um, I think educating yourself as much as possible. I'm always here to answer questions. If you have anything that you want to ask about, getting involved with the election, understanding the our history and justice, and just doing it all with love, being easy on yourself, being easy with others. You're never going to learn it all in 2 seconds. But anything that you do, any efforts that you make, have a ripple effect. They make a huge difference. So use your voice. Even if it cracks, even if you're shy, use whatever platform you're comfortable with. Talk to the people that will make you feel held. And yeah, just continue to know that you're never too young, you're never too small. Some of my favorite civil rights leaders, John Lewis, Martin Luther King, Diana Nash, Bridges, right? So this isn't something that's for old folks. This is something for young folks, and so Gen Z, this generation, is going to lead the way, and I'm excited to stand beside you guys, and I can't wait to see all the good things that you do, and of you, Chloe, for everything that you've built, all the people that you've helped and you've served, and you just do it with such joy and radiance. Like I love your smile. You're just making my day and giving me a lot of hope. There's been a lot of things not to be hopeful about this year, and it's so cool when you see so much of that negativity. And I'll see a post from you or one of your peers, and it brings me all the way back to the other side. And I say, "There's no way we can give up. We have so much to look forward to. There's so much good. There's so much love, and I appreciate you having me and asking such good questions and wanting to get involved in so many ways."
Yes, thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun speaking with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us from Chatting with Chloe. I had so much fun speaking with our guests, and I'll see you next week.
You know?